Hello everyone, Smart right here. This is a short video. I am streaming today at 11 a.m., so don't worry about that. This is a short video just to show you off my KOG deck. I will describe it off at 11 a.m. today, so don't worry about that. Hold on, that's not it. Something I've just been playing around with. Okay, here we go. KOG December. I guess I should just rename this. Okay, so we have our King Games deck here, Triamids. Again, this is my third straight KOG with them. We got Ritual Beast to Legend 5. We won 10 in a row. We had the Legend. And then we had this go to KOG. Alright, so I'm going to go over the deck build, and I'm also going to teach you guys how to deck build Triamids. Alright, how to deck build and make Triamids correctly. So, we run 2 Master, 3 Hunter, and 2 Dancer. Now, generally with Triamids, there are ratios, because nearly everybody uses balance. Like, I can tell you guys, 97% of these people are using balance. Almost nobody plays ties that bind. And Sealed Tunes is a 1% side deck skill, I guess, if you really want to counter a matchup, but I really see no point in using it because you can throw out this deck's consistency. So, we're running 7 monsters, and our 7 monsters is generally a good ratio for your monsters. Some people run 6, but then if you run 6, there is a slight chance you may not draw a monster, which could be really bad for you. So we're running 3 Hunter, 2 Master, and 2 Dancer. Now, Hunter allows us to summon another Triamid monster from our hand if we have a field spell out. In balance, since we run over 7 field spells, 7 is the magic number, gives us the opportunity to always have a field spell in hand, so this card is always live. So we have our field spells are Cruiser, King Golem, and Fortress. I'll go over what they do in a second, but the main point is he allows you to swarm the field and really throw more Triamid monsters on the field. And his second effect, as all the Triamids have, are the ability to swap out different field spells. So, during your opponent's turn. So on your opponent's turn, you're going to be able to swap out your Cruiser, your King Golem, and your Fortress to be able to get other field spells. Okay? So, that's going to be very important for you. Now, the other monster we have, one of the other monsters, is Triamid Master. Now, Triamid Master does is that once per turn, you can send 1 face-up Triamid card. It has to be face up. So if they floodgate another one of your monsters, you cannot use that set monster to use its effect. It has to be face up. 1 face-up Triamid card to destroy 1 face-down card on the field. So you can send any face-up Triamid card to destroy a face-down card on the field. So that could be Pulse, could be your field spells, could be a Triamid monster. Anything goes as long as it's face up, any Triamid card. Okay? So that could be really useful in a Subterra matchup to destroy their Lumistrips. Could be useful to destroy a face-down monster that you think will be a threat. Sometimes it sets up a lethal. Good to take out key back row, maybe to play around Treacherous. If you're smart and they can fall for it, you can play around Treacherous correctly. Alright? But it's good to play around certain back row. This card is a 2 of. I didn't ever think it was a 3 of. I think 3 of it's a bit much. And the other monster that we run is Triamid Dancer, and one of the most important monsters. What she does is, like all the other Triamids, you can swap field spells on your opponent's turn. Also, once per turn, you can return 1 Triamid card in your graveyard back to the deck, including Pulse and including your field spells, to have all your Triamid monsters gain 500 attack and defense points. So this really comes in handy when you really want to boost up your monsters. Now, because of her weak 600 attack, you're going to want to summon her in defense as much as possible. If you can't, then it's still generally a good idea to put her in attack, just because she can gain monumental amounts of attack. So that's something you want to look at, alright, when you're using her and defense. That's also a great way to get over something like Invocositis. Alright? So the next thing we're going to look at here, alright, is your field spells. Now with Dancer, you want to have multiple on the field, ideally at the same time, because then she can get really big and really help you win games. Alright? So the next card that I want to show you here are your field spells. The first field spell you're going to run in Triamids is Triamid Cruiser. Now Cruiser is a mandatory 3-of. I have gotten the Legend 3 with 1, and I did hit KOG in earlier format with 2. Alright? So I have hit earlier format Legend 3 and KOG with 2 copies. Alright? Ideally you want 3 though. Alright? Because if you recycle, you want to be able to have enough field spells in your deck to mandate to make sure you don't run out. And plus Cruiser keeps recycling all your Triamid cards, and it's also best when you open it because then you can really swarm the field really quickly. So this is a great card that you want to open, and yeah, it allows you to search everything. Alright, now I did talk about its effect, but I really didn't go over all the things it does. So first of all, each time a rock monster is normal summoned, you're going to gain 500 life. Now that can become important as we'll talk about some of the back row cards that we run. But it's also really good in some matches that they really want to OTK you. So for example, like if they really want to hit you hard with Purgatrio, those life points can mean everything. Or if they come in with some like Inzector deck or a one-shot deck where they really want to one-shot you, then that could be really important. Alright, so it can be important to gain these life points sometimes. Alright, and it's also important for winning the traps that we run. We'll get into that. Another thing with your Triamid Cruiser is when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to, when it's sent from the field to the grave, you get to add a Triamid monster for your deck to your hand. So like I discussed before, all your Triamids swap out, alright, and allow you to get different field spells. So you send it with their effect, you're going to be able to search another Triamid. Or if you overlay another field spell on top of it. Alright? And then, also, when your Triamids are normal summoned or normal summoned, sorry. When they're normal summoned, you get to draw 1 and discard 1 card. That could be really good to dump another Triamid that you don't need in your graveyard, and then recycle it later with another card I'm going to show you. Or, you can use it to get into some of your back row cards. Next card is Triamid King Golem. King Golem is one of your best field spells, if not the best, because it turns all of your Triamids into Armades. And if you don't know what that card is and you're a new player, I'm going to show you. What this card does, essentially, is if it attacks or doesn't attack, then your opponent can activate cards and effects until the end of the damage step. Alright? So, in this case, King Golem does the same thing, but only with your Triamid monsters. Alright? So, in this case, your King Golem is going to turn all your Triamids into Armades, where your opponent cannot activate cards and effects after they attack. Alright? So, if you swing in directly, they cannot use Kiteroid, because Kiteroid cannot activate its effect. They cannot use Spear Karibo. They cannot use Drowning. They cannot use Wall Disruption. None of that on your Triamids. Alright? However, there are things that they can do. If you swing into Whitestone of the Ancients, that activates in the end phase. That will still go off. So you need to be careful of these things, okay? When you attack, be very careful of said clauses. Alright? Same, so that you want to be really careful of, alright? So, some of the things that may activate at a different time may still activate. The same thing as if you swing into a Tree-Dwelling Frog, that will still get its effect in the standby phase. That will not be unharmed by something like Triamid King Golem. But this card is really good. It really ensures you have game, and also gives all your Triamid, all your rock monsters, all rock monsters on the field 500 attack. So be very careful when you go in the mirror match, and also be careful if you go up against something like Magnets or Magelenica, because Magelenica is a rock, so that's something you want to look at. And also when you go up against Magnets, they're all rocks, so be very careful with that. Next card we have are, one other thing. When you send this to the graveyard, remember, Cruiser searches. When you send King Golem to the graveyard, you get to special summon. So you're able to special summon out your Dancer, alright, or any Triamid from your hand. So it allows you to special summon a Triamid from the hand when it's sent to the grave. And that's very important because you're going to learn, I'm going to teach you how to combo your Triamids really well with that. And And then the final field spell we have is Triamid Fortress. Now, this you want to run 2 of. So 3 King Golem, 3 Cruise, remember, and 2 Fortress. Now, Fortress comes in hand really clutch, because when this card is set on the field, all your rocks gain 500 defense, not attack, excuse me. And also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects. So this comes in handy when you're dealing with cards like Treacherous Trap Hole that want to destroy your monsters, or Desperado Barrel Dragon. That can show up. It doesn't generally, but if it shows up, then you can counter it with Triamid Fortress, or the occasional Yubel matchup. So Yubel Terra Incarnate cannot destroy any of your Triamids. Alright? Also, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Triamid monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So if they send it to the grave, you get back any of your Triamids. It can be really good to recycle your monsters, so you want to keep that in hand. And remember, when I said you draw 1 and discard 1 off of your cruiser, when you send the Fortress to the graveyard, then you're able to recycle your Triamid that you sent off the cruiser. So it combos all in together. Next card we have is Dimensional Prison. So Dimensional Prison really comes in handy when they attack into you. You are able to banish your opponent's monster. Be very careful though, this does target. Also, if they attack into you while you don't have the King Golem on, then they can Vacant Saber that because it will negate the attack. And so since the attack doesn't happen, the declaration never happens. Not the declaration, but since the monster still isn't attacking, see how it says target the attacking monster? That will not go through, and you won't get to use Dimensional Prison, so just be very careful of that. Generally, optimally, if you want to use this, you want to have King Golem out so they can't pull that, or make sure they don't have Vacant Saber in the graveyard. Also, this targets, so this will not work on Poseidon, but this card is very good to stop Magellanic and Proto Trio, and Brave Neos as well. So, next we have 2 Floodgates. You can run 3 Floodgates, you don't need Deep Prison, you don't need to copy my traps card for card. You can run a lot of different back row. I can show you a few examples. Floodgate, you set your opponent's monster permanently. Really good. Alright? Really good against any of your invokes, because even Poseidon, because you can just destroy it with Master. And you can set any of their monsters face down. Like a Trio, Magellanica. If you use this on Malayu, Element Saber Malayu, be very careful because they can chain, and then flip their Malayu face down, and then your Floodgate will not activate. Resolve, excuse me, so be very careful with that. Alright, so you normally don't want to Floodgate their Malayu, unless you have to. Like, if they don't have a field spot, then you can try and attempt to do it, but I still wouldn't anyway, because they're still low on resources. But, you know, if you Floodgate Malayu when they don't have it, they'll have to discard from their hand to protect it, so you could do that. But ideally, save these for the invokes, because it's generally not worth it. Especially if they field out, because they'll protect their Malayu anyway, by sending one from the deck to the grave, which could actually help them out. Next, the best trap in this deck, Mirror Wall. Alright, or one of them. Mirror Wall is really good because it does not specify that the monster attacking has to be in attack mode, so you can hammer their Poseidon this way. Also, this card is really good just because Triamids gain Eternal Life, and then if they attack in with big monsters, you can, half their attack, and then just make them ram in. You can also pay 2,000 life to keep it on the field. This card's also good against Ancient Gears, because if you fear they have Galaxy, you flip this up in the draw phase. So that way they can't play around it with Galaxy Cyclone. And then if you have King Golem out and they attack him with Reactor, they do not get to pop your Mirror Wall at all, and their Reactor will be destroyed. The Reactor will still die, even if you have Mirror Wall out, and they swing into your Triamids if they are big enough. Alright? But generally you want to have this and King Golem out. Pulse. Pulse is a combo card, and it is also serves as many purposes in this deck. No, you do not need a Prismatic, but you know me, I have to bling out everything. So, when you have Pulse out, it has 3 effects. Third effect will almost never get used, but you should know it anyway. First effect is you can banish 2 rock monsters and or field spells from your graveyard. So all your Triamids are rocks, and your field spells are active, to destroy 1 card in the field. Target 1 card and destroy in the field. This is great for play interruption, so you can use this to interrupt the Fortune Lady combo. So let's say they summon Past and then activate Calling to summon Light. The minute they activate Past effect, you flip this up and make sure, I cannot tell you, make sure you have 2 rocks in the graveyard. Don't flip this up and then try and chain your Triamid effect. to it, alright? So don't flip up like Pulse is Chain Link 1, and then activate your Triamid effect as Chain Link 2, because you will not get to use Pulse after you do that. They will be able to combo, alright? So you want to be very careful with that. So make sure that when you're going to flip up Pulse to destroy something, you already have the cost in the graveyard that is required. So already have those 2 outs in the grave. Alright? So don't try that. Alright, so you can interrupt their combo, and then you blow up their light or their pass, and then they can't combo. So really, really good against Fortune Ladies to do that. This is also good against Black Wings, too, because if they Hatred you flip this up, and then if you have the materials already in the graveyard, you can interrupt their summons. So that could be good to stop a synchro. It could be one of the only ways that you could stop them through Hatred in my opinion. Mirror Wall doesn't really help because they'll blow it up with Raikiri. So you gotta be really cautious with that. And then excuse me. I'm not finished with this effect yet. Alright. Its second effect is target 1 rock-type monster in your graveyard and then special summon defense. So you have to have 3 cards in the graveyard. Generally, you want to be summoning Dancer off of this effect. Remember, I told you want to summon her in defense. So the main cards that are going to summon her in defense are King Golem and your Pulse. So if you summon her in defense off of this, then you will be able to combo and send the card from your field spell from your field to the grave immediately after she's summoned, and then you'll be able to gain massive advantage that way. Alright? So that's a really good effect if you have 3 cards in your graveyard. The next thing is, the third and final effect is, you can banish 2 rocks to target up to 3 field spells in your graveyard, shuffle them in your deck, and draw 1 card. That's not really ever going to come up. It came up for me once because I was afraid of decking out. If you go up against some weird deck that's going to try and deck you out, that could be a way to survive, but again, you will run out of resources eventually, but it could be a way to buy yourself an extra turn or 2. Again, it's almost never going to come up. You can even talk to my brother, Stephen Freshy. He will tell you that's almost never going to come up, but if you're in that scenario, you know, it's there, I guess, if you really need to go for that. Now I'm going to teach you some of the combos, alright? So turn 1, let's say you open up Hunter, Cruiser, Dancer, King Golem. There are 2 ways you can go about this. Number 1 is you can just go basic, summon Hunter, summon Dancer, but that, in my opinion, is not the best play. What I would do in that scenario is, I would summon Hunter, right, with your Cruiser out. Now there's 2 ways. You can either discard Dancer, which I really wouldn't do, if you don't have that as an optimal hand. Now generally, you want this hand going turn 2 because you want some kind of back row in it. You almost never see this turn 1 unless you're running 6 traps. So turn 2, your hand would be Hunter, Cruiser, Dancer, King Golem, and maybe a Mirror Wall, right? So in this case, I would go Cruiser, then I would activate King Golem, so I could summon, the other one. Activate King Golem and then go Cruiser so I could special summon Dancer in defense mode, and then I would normal summon Hunter, and then I would have Cruiser on the field for a search next turn. And then I would also be able to return 1 Triamid card from your graveyard to your deck, boost them up, so Dancer will have 2400 defense, and your Hunter will be at 1900 attack. You also have the ability to go Fortress on your next turn. And in that case, because you're searching, because you have Cruiser search next turn, that's also going to put you in a good spot. Alright? So what you could do is, unfortunately in that case you will not end on a cruiser. You would end on a cruiser actually. You would end on a cruiser. So what you could do is, next turn you could send Cruiser to the graveyard, go for King Golem. I know this is going to be a lot to process, but you will get this eventually. I will also post a combo list on the Discord so it's a lot easier for you to understand, rather than just watching this video. Then on the next turn, you will also be able to go Cruiser into King Golem, search off Cruiser, and then have a monster that you could special summon off of King Golem once you send that to the graveyard with your second Triamid effect. So you will have a massive amount of advantage there. Alright? So I'm going to go over it one more time so that way everyone understands, okay? Turn 2, you're opening up Hunter, Dancer, Cruiser, King Golem, Mirror Wall. Alright? So you're going to activate King Golem, then go for your Triamid Cruiser, special Dancer in defense, normal summon your Hunter. Alright? So remember, you're ending on and then setting the Mirror Wall. and then activating Dancer's effect to return one Triamid. That in this case would be your King Golem to the back from the graveyard back into the deck. Gain 500 attack and defense on both the Triamids. Have a 2400 defense Dancer. Have a 1900 attack Hunter with a Mirror Wall set. In that case, you are set to go. Next turn, go on your opponent's turn with the searching effects. Send your cruiser to the graveyard. Get your Triamid King Golem. Search for maybe another Dancer. Then send your King Golem to the graveyard. Special summon another Dancer. Have double Dancer on the field. And then go Fortress. So you will have a really commanding field in that point. With 12900 defense Dancer, 12400, and then a big hefty Hunter also on the field as well. Remember, that third Dancer that you summon will also be able to search. So let's say they attack into your Hunter, right? And they destroy it. Since Hunter's already used its effect, wait for them to destroy that. Okay? So if they destroy that Hunter, then you use Dancer's effect. Wait for it to be attack targeted first and destroyed. So that way you can recover that Hunter back with your Triamid Fortress. And then keep comboing and gaining all that advantage over your opponent. Now, the next scenario I want to talk about is if you go turn 1 and you open up Hunter, Master, Cruiser, Mirror Wall, or Floodgate, whatever. So this is probably the simplest. In that case, this is pretty standard hand. You could get greedy if you don't want to summon the Master. So in this case, I would go Cruiser, then I would summon Hunter, and then I would summon Master because I would just be more focused on swapping out. Unless you're really afraid, depending on matchup-wise, if you're afraid your opponent's really going to Cosmic Cyclone you and ruin you, and you really need that back row, you could summon Hunter or Master. I would just summon Master by itself, and then activate Cruiser, discard Hunter, and then try and draw into another back row. But in this case, generally, you'll have Hunter, Master, Cruiser on the field, along with a back row, and then be able to swap out twice. Okay? And then in that case, you could go with Cruiser right into King Golem, get your search for a Dancer, activate your second effect, send King Golem, special Dancer in defense, and then go for maybe a Fortress. So really ideal opening hand. Now the less ideal opening hand would be something like if I opened up Fortress, and then I would start out with like a Dancer or a Hunter. In that case, you could summon Hunter and Dancer in attack mode, or if you don't have it, you would summon Dancer alone in attack because you need to swap out and get as much advantage as possible. I really wouldn't set Dancer unless you balls deep know that you can get your opponent to swing into a Mirror Wall and then be in a more ideal situation. Otherwise, summon Dancer in attack mode and rely on your back row to protect you. And then in the last ideal, oopsie. Whoops. Give me 1 second. And then that less ideal scenario, be able to search, be able to go into Cruiser and then draw maybe a field spell on your next turn. So that way you can get more Triamids on the field. Alright? So that would be the less ideal of hands. Again, this will all be posted in the Discord. Alright? So, how do I build this deck? I already described what you should be running, but what should I be building? What are the staples? 2 Master, you want 2. 3 Hunter, mandatory. Mandatory 2 to 3 Hunter, I like 3. 2 Dancer, 3 Cruiser mandatory, 3 King Golem, and 2 Fortress. So by the time you get done with that, that's 7 and 8, that's 15 cards. And now the back row, you could go to the 3 Floodgates. You could run Canadia, but Floodgate is so good in this meta that I would like Floodgate. That's really good. 1-dimensional Prison. Again, that's optimal. That's optional, not optimal. Optional. You could run 3 Floodgates instead if you want. 2 Mirror Wall. I like that. 1 Wall D. It could be good against the Dark Lord matchup or any deck that really wants to swarm you hard. And 1 Pulse. Now you may ask me, Sean, so 7 traps in total. Listen, 7 traps in total, 8 field spells, and 7 monsters. Now you may ask me, Sean, Sean, but how do I know I'll draw a Wall D against Dark Lords? You have supporting back row. You have your Mirror Wall, you have your other back row, your Floodgates. The more you deck thin, you really only need 1 Wall Disruption to win a duel. I don't want people thinking they need to use 3 Wall Disruptions. It's very, very rare that you're going to need 3 Wall Disruption to win a duel. Unless your opponent just has resources out the yada. and you can't kill them for some reason. But most of the time, you should be able to kill them under one wall of D. Alright? So one wall of D, you're going to be able to, with all that deck thinning, you're going to get it. I love this deck so much. It's one of my favorite decks to play. My best win streak with this deck was 19-1 and 22-2. It's one of my favorite decks to play overall. It's just so much fun. Yeah, I think people underrate it. So this is my KOG deck. Hopefully this deck tutorial does help you out. If you're on the stream today, I will discuss this deck a little bit, but I will also refer you to the video. And we're going to discuss the ban list today and play a bunch of different decks. And maybe do a little bit of PvE. Alright, so Smart Rye, signing out.